Little girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night?
Hey everyone, it's Nicole from SquareXO. Today I'm joined by Rebecca.
Hello.
We have yet another spoiler special lined up for you today, but before we get into the focus for this episode, I just wanted to give our website and Twitter some love. So you can check out our website at squarexo.co.uk, where you can read our latest reviews and check out our weekly PlayStation podcast via whichever medium suits you best. You can also find us on Twitter at @square_XO, where we'd love to hear your answer to questions and hear your thoughts on just about anything gaming related, whether it's something we've covered or something you'd like us to cover. But anyway, now on to the task at hand. For today's episode, Rebecca and I are going to be talking about Telltale's The Walking Dead series. It's a franchise we've both thoroughly enjoyed, that's won countless awards and, well, just generally deserves to be discussed. We also thought this would be appropriate in light of its release of its fourth and final season, which will obviously be released in the form of its first episode tomorrow. But yeah, I think we should issue the spoiler warning for this one.
Spoiler warning now.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about all three of Telltale's The Walking Dead series and spin-offs in great depth for this cast. So if you're crazy enough not to have played this amazing series yet, please turn off this cast, go play them, and come back when you've done so. Right, plenty of time to go.
Yep.
We'll go for an order. So, Becky, what did you think of season 1?
We were just talking before we started recording about how it feels like it's been an age since we played, the first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I played it in 2015, which in retrospective isn't that long ago, but I really struggle to remember all the core details. I obviously remember the main plot points that we all talk about, but I think I enjoyed it for what it was. Obviously, there's a lot of zombie games out there on the market already, so it was nice playing something that was a little bit more refreshing, something that was probably a little bit more about character arc than it is, about the zombies and story. There's obviously lots of zombie games out there where the main plot of the game is to cure the ailment and to find a way to get rid of the zombies, but this one's more about how you come across as a person, morally, and what your questions are, and how you set yourself out in a state of the world where it's not a very nice place anymore. So I enjoyed that. I did really enjoy the setting. I really enjoyed the characters. I think that it's really tricky at first to sympathize with Lee, who's the protagonist, because the very first shot of him is a shot of him going to prison. So the idea that you're going to be playing as someone who's obviously done something or been accused of doing something, wrong and unlawful, that was very interesting for me, because my initial thoughts were, do I even want to protect this person, or is this person someone who deserves to be put in harm's way?
Yeah.
And then everybody else I loved Clementine. I think as a whole, and we'll talk about this all the way through, but I think as a whole it's been so nice seeing through the franchise. Obviously in this one you don't play as her, you protect her. She's at the house, her parents have gone on holiday before the apocalypse, and her babysitter's turned into a zombie and she's in a treehouse. So the first time we meet her, she's very weak, she's very vulnerable, and it sort of just becomes your entire incentive to protect her. So I thought that was really interesting as well. That's an interesting take. Normally in video games, you get annoyed when you're lumbered with someone who's weaker than you, but it was really refreshing thinking about your actions. And even, when you're not in danger and you're just having simple dialogue with characters, it was nice thinking about it in terms of how are my vocal actions and what I say and how I behave going to rub off on her.
Yeah.
The game's very clever. It's very sneaky. It'll say Clementine will remember that in the top corner, so you know that you've just done something that will impact the game, whether that be positive or negative. I thought the story was really good. It kind of hits you in the gut.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's probably even an understatement for how emotional it is. There's so many instances where young characters die. So in I want to say the third episode, Duck dies, and he's sort of portrayed as this, he's a kid, but he's portrayed as this annoying little kid who's getting under everyone's feet, and he thinks everything's a joke, and I don't think he realizes the seriousness of the situation. But, at the end of the day, he's a child, and there's an episode where you're in sort of, what would it be? It's like it's like a motor station almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're boarded in, but then all the zombies get in, and he actually gets bitten during a Scrabble. So you're on the bus, traveling to a new location, and you just see his parents, and they're obviously very upset, Kenny and his wife. Um, and then when you find out that he's been bitten, and obviously, as we all know, zombie bites never end in a good thing, it just sort of
No.
really hit me really hard that he was die. And even though it's a video game and I've only been playing this video game for 2 hours, I was really shocked by how much it affected me. You know, they take him out to the woods and, you know, they say to him, like, I can't do this. Kenny says, I can't do it. I can't, you know, kill my son, but I also can't leave him here to turn into one of those things. And I don't know about you, but I volunteered to do it. And I did not want to push the trigger button at all. I not ashamed to say I cried. It made me really upset.
I cried. Yeah,
that makes me feel better. And then obviously it hits you with another sucker punch that Kenny's wife also kills herself. Now I don't know about you, but I thought that was maybe a little bit out of character. I think that maybe that was just put in there to try and make everything seem so desperate, and that she thought without her son there was nothing in the world left. But
exactly.
Yeah, I felt like it was maybe wouldn't something that necessarily fit in with her, because she was very like caring and loving and wanted to help people, and obviously she still had Kenny to help. So I feel about that action in particular, but the rest of the season I really enjoyed. And then obviously there's the big sucker punch at the end where I don't even want to say it.
It's horrible.
Yeah, where Lee does get bitten, and you know, you're given the choice to, you can either cut off his arm or you can save it. What did you do? I'm interested.
I'm pretty sure regarding the arm, I'm pretty sure I kept his arm on.
Oh no, I cut it
I
off.
think.
I cut it off. I don't
I
know
swear I
why,
did.
because I think by the time you get that revelation, you've already been told that, too late already.
Yeah.
You know, he says, I've been bitten hours ago, it's already too late. But I don't know. I think Telltale lets you know that the game is shaped by your own choices. So I
Yeah.
thought if I cut his arm off, maybe something different will happen. Even if it's not a major thing, maybe something will happen. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. He is on a mission to find Clementine, and he's also coming down with the virus. And the ending scenes are just horrible.
Gosh.
I was
Yeah.
blubbering like a baby. I was so upset. I think the
Yeah.
main thing was that I think you go from the beginning of the game and you don't know Lee and you don't know Clementine, and the things and risks that Lee does just to get Clementine safe when he doesn't even really know her.
Yeah.
And it's also a character that you've shaped. You know, you've picked the choices, you've spoken.
Exactly. You feel attached, don't you?
Exactly. It's almost like that's a part of you in there. So it's horrible seeing what happens to him at the end. But you know, aside from that, I really couldn't fault it. I think that there was almost nothing wrong with it. But you know, it's a good game for making you really remember those powerful moments. And it's filled with I mean, I only mentioned Duck dying and Lee dying, but there's lots of other character deaths that are that's shocking. One I do want to talk about is, I can't remember her name. At the beginning of the game, you have a choice to save two people. I think one's Doug, and the other one, what's the other one's name? Is it Sarah? I can't think. No, Lily. It's Lily. It's Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point, there becomes a quarrel between Carly and Lily.
Oh, I hate that one.
Do you remember? And basically, you all get off the bus, and then all of a sudden, who is it? Who shoots who? I literally can't remember. But
Carly dies, doesn't
Carly
she?
dies,
She's the one that Lee's interested in.
Exactly. Yeah, Lily shoots Carly in the face. Like, it's insane. You're just like,
yeah.
Okay.
All right then. Yeah, it's so abrupt.
But I mean, it all depends, on what you've picked, because those two characters, for example, were always designed to clash against each other. So if you picked one thing, the other one would be upset, and if you picked another thing, then the other character would be upset. There's no way that you can keep those two characters at a level, and I thought that was interesting too. So yeah, I really liked it. But what did you think, Nicole?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, obviously you brought up the whole death regarding Doug, and I think that is, I think that's kind of one of the real kind of crucial, like, I think it's one of the most crucial scenes throughout the game, and it's primarily because obviously as a child there's kind of that general just that general wrongness that is a child that's having to suffer. But it's also very crucial to kind of Clementine, because it's like her closest kind of like the closest thing she has to having a child friend and being able to enjoy being a child.
I didn't think of
Um,
that.
yeah, but obviously it kind of shapes Kenny's character. Kind of in the further seasons, you kind of that's kind of what's kind of commandeered him to go down this the darker path I'd say he goes down. But I do completely agree with you that obviously when his mum decides to take her own life, that it's very out of character, and I didn't expect it because like she was very different to being that way inclined the whole way through. And I mean, obviously, it's unpredictable where it's like post-apocalyptic and stuff. But I don't know. I just didn't expect that from her character. And I think that is definitely one of the most important kind of deaths. As much as obviously Carly's death is very untimely and abrupt, and you're like, whoa, what the hell?
So well done, because it's one of those things where I think because Telltale, like I said, they let you choose the story. I think that you think you're in control, and then, as we'll talk about in a minute when we get to season 2, it turns out that you can't save everybody, even if you try to save everyone. So
exactly.
I think that was an interesting thing. What did you think about the ending to season 1? Because it ended quite ambiguously.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I was inconsolable when the whole thing with Lee and that happened. Obviously, Lee and Clementine in the room. It's just gut wrenchingly awful. Obviously, it's the choice as well you're given. You either tell Clementine to kill you, or obviously you say just leave the room. But obviously, where you kind of, as a player, you kind of take up this need to nurture her and kind of lead her down the best path going forward. And you think the best way to, like, obviously, did you make her kill him, or?
I made her kill him, yeah, because I think the thought of him staying there, and either turning into a zombie himself or, being eaten by another zombie, I just was like, Lee deserves better than that. And even though it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
I feel like if it was me and we're in that situation, I wouldn't want to be left alone to suffer through it. I'd rather be like, bullet in the head, really quick, painless.
Yep, exactly.
I'd rather just be like, I'm already in pain, I'm already suffering. Just do it. That's what I want. So it seems like it's the easier option, but then you have to take into consideration that Clementine's a child at this point in the game. She's really young, isn't she? Like 8 or 9 at this season.
Yeah, she is very young. Yeah.
So it's tricky to look at that and be able to be like, oh, this is the clear choice, because you spend so much time with these characters, and if you really think about how they behave and how they act, Clementine throughout the entirety of season 1 has been a child. So
yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing as well. It's trying to decide what's best, because obviously, like, I love the way that everyone has a kind of different thought process when it comes to deciding like what happens throughout the game and kind of which route you go down. Because obviously at that point in my head, I just had Lee's been kind of teaching her the fundamentals to surviving and like offering her that guidance, and in a way it kind of comes full circle that that's the final step, isn't it, is being able to kill someone.
yeah.
And I just thought that would kind of round off his tutoring, is by saying that you're going to have to, there's going to be times where you're going to have to kill someone you love. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love the first season. It was definitely my favorite. I loved as well the introduction to the zombies. Like, obviously when you're in the police car and the game kind of, the dark tone is really set early on. Because obviously you're a convicted killer. And like you say, you don't know how that's going to kind of affect how because you don't want to do what's in the best interest of it, like a convicted killer. So you just kind of already preemptively wondering how it's going to affect the decisions you decide to make. But I just love, obviously, when you crash the car and you go into the wooded area and it's really dark and foggy. And although Telltale's got the kind of really simplistic gameplay mechanics of just, pushing a couple of buttons, it's not like running around shooting loads of weapons.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they've got that kind of commendable ability to create a really intense kind of, I wouldn't say like a fight sequence, but really kind of intense combat moments in the game without having much gameplay to it. Like, you're literally pushing buttons and crawling away, and yet this really kind of panic-inducing moment is...
it's so scary.
It's mortifying. But yeah, I honestly thought the first season was fantastic, and it definitely resonated with me. I remember I was in the foulest mood
I
afterwards.
love how you remember that.
Yeah, literally, I just remember I went downstairs and I was crying. I came back upstairs and I started crying again. I was like, why the hell am I crying? Like, it's not real, but where, like you say, where you get so invested in these characters, it just feels like, in a way, I just felt like I let them down, I suppose, which
Mm.
sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's just come the end of the game. It made me feel utterly miserable.
Yeah.
Utterly miserable. But yeah, obviously after season 1, there's the 400 day special episode. I know you love this, Rebecca, but obviously it focuses on the different stories of a few survivors, and they're all kind of intertwined in some way, shape, or form. And
Oh,
it's the first kind of
so good.
yeah, it's the first kind of inclination we get that the choices we make have outwards effect on like seasons going forward and different stories. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Firstly, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It's probably one of the best DLCs that I've ever played because it really does. It really intrigues you. Like I said, I think it's 5 stories. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's 5 characters. There's Vince, Wyatt, Russell, Bonnie, and Shell, and they all have these really short little stories. They're all told on different days of the apocalypse. So I think the first one's Vince, and he's on day 2, and he's on a bus. He's also a prisoner, and it's one of these things where the intensity for all of these stories is really ramped up. So there's not a single story that feels a bit meh. They're all very, very intense.
Yep.
And like Nicole was saying, they're all tied together, which I think is so clever because you play them in whatever order you want to. You might notice things in one episode that weren't in the other, or you might have moved a zombie in one episode. So in that furling person's episode, they're not in danger, even though that's something you
Yep.
didn't realize you were doing. But I think both of us wanted to talk a little bit about Wyatt's story because
Definitely.
I think we loved Wyatt's story. Do you want to start?
Well, I think for me it was my highlight. Obviously, you're escaping Nate from Russell's story, with his friend Eddie, and what kind of appealed to me most over like in Wyatt's story over all the others was the fact it's just such a creepy setting.
Yeah.
And I think it was obviously you're driving through like thick fog, and you hit something in the car and you decide to go check if it's a walker because obviously you don't want that to have an outwards effect. But it was the first kind of, I think even above the whole of season 1 itself, it's the first time I felt genuinely like frightened and I didn't want to get out of the car. And obviously you have to play rock paper scissors with Eddie to decide who has to go out and look. And it's one of those moments where you really don't want to pull the short straw because you don't want to have to go out into the fog and be jumped by something or killed. It's absolutely mortifying, and I think they did that so well in that episode.
So I'm really interested. Did you end up leaving the car or did you stay in the car?
I think on my first one, I stayed.
Yeah, I did the same thing. So my first one, I stayed and I went back and I replayed it where I left. And you get to the point where you go out into the road or you stay in the car and it just feels horrible because if you go out into the road, there's fog everywhere and you can hear zombies, but you can't like see them. You just know they're there. And you go over to the body and it's actually a human. And it's actually the bus driver from Vince's story. So that's how that connects. And obviously Nate's in there from Russell's, like you said. And basically what happens is you go to him. Is he dead or is he alive? I can't remember. If he's alive, he's not doing very well anymore.
Yeah.
And then your choice is, well, do you leave him or do you take him with you back to the car? And if you're still in the car at this point, if you've not gone into the road, it all gets a bit freaky because Nate, who obviously has been chasing you around the forest, he turns out to be a psychopath. He comes back. And the horrifying thing, if you're actually on the road, you just see your friend Eddie just drive off without you. And it's so scary.
Yep.
It gave me shivers, literally gave me shivers. And
but like you say though, it's you get to play them in whichever order. And obviously if you've played Russell's story beforehand, you know Nate's a bit of a loose cannon.
Yep.
You know he's not all there because obviously in his episode he kills 2 elderly people just like even though they're not a threat, just to get their resources. And so it kind of adds a lot of tension to the scene because you're thinking this guy's an absolute nutter. So I don't know. I love 400 Days. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Really good. Like you say, good, very good DLC. But yeah, moving on. What were your thoughts on season 2? Because I know you love season 2.
I love season 2, and everyone hates season 2. I loved it. I thought that the cast were really good. I thought the setting was really good. I like the story because season 2 sort of explores how humans are just as dangerous, if not more, than the zombies. Because just like the TV show, you go through the first few seasons expecting zombies to be the main threat, and then it turns out that actually humans are the big threat. So all the way through season 2, you're chased by a guy called Carver, and he basically, well, firstly, for a start, Clementine's alone. She does start the game with what's his name? She starts the game with what are the names? I say it's been so long since I played.
It's Omid and something, isn't it?
And
Omid.
I can't think of
What's
her
her
name.
name? I can't think of a name.
Begins
Oh
with,
no.
I feel like it begins with an N, but it's Omid and his wife, essentially. And his wife was pregnant in the first season, and then all of a sudden she's not pregnant, and you don't know where the baby is, so that's a bit unnerving. And a group of strangers come across the camp, and Clementine ends up running away. She ends up, being on her own again. And one of the first things that happens in season 2 is you meet a dog. So naturally you think, oh, I'm safe now. Like, dogs are great. Everyone loves dogs.
Nope.
They look after you. This dog turns on you so fast, bites you. You end up passing out. And then you end up being found by Luke and... I can't remember anyone's name. Is it Pete? Luke and Pete?
I think so, yeah. It's something like that.
Apologies for being absolutely awful with my memory today, guys. But they take you back to the cabin, and that cabin, it just so happens to be being a point of interest for Carver. And Carver's not a nice guy. He's the main antagonist. He wants to basically reconcile with Rebecca, who, is someone who he thinks that he thinks that that's his baby. So that's the main point of the game. But it's very cleverly told because you go through it. There's a great sense of tension. It's not necessarily scary, but it's a very tense atmosphere. It's very, very heavy. You can feel it in the air. And, you go through different locations and you'll see flashlights in the wood. And just tiny sort of things like that made me nervous. You meet Kenny again, which is nice, because at the middle... Oh, no, it's near the end. Near the end of season 1, Kenny ends up getting stuck in an alleyway full of walkers, and you just assume that that's the end of him. But he's actually in this ski lodge, which it's nice to be reunited with him because obviously Clementine's older now. She's lost a lot of people. That group she was with in season 1, she's not with any of them anymore. So it's really nice that she gets to, reconcile with someone who has basically partly fathered her through the first season. So it was nice that she got to be connected with that fatherly figure that she trusted. But yeah, I really liked season 2. I understand why people don't like season 2. I will let Nicole explain why people don't like season 2. But I did not have that many problems with it. I sort of accepted it. I was like, my thought was they want season 3 to start at the same point. So they think they need to sort of rein in season 2. But it's annoying. Nicole, are you going to shed some light on why it's annoying?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I think first it's just worth acknowledging, like you say, I think season 2 is really good for acknowledging the fact that in a post-apocalyptic scenario, that humans are probably more of a concern and something to be feared as opposed to zombies, which are predictable and, you can kind of judge them a lot better than you can a human that's not having to abide by law and, that are driven by hunger and, the need to survive. And I also think it's season 2 was really great for character development of both Kenny and Clementine. Obviously, you see Clementine really kind of hold her own in this, and you can tell that she's taken on board all of these guidance from the previous season. I found I just didn't enjoy it as much because I felt that the choices you were given felt less consequential to where the storyline was being taken. As nice as it was to see Kenny make a comeback as a familiar face, as you say, it's really nice for Clementine to be reunited with this father figure. It's kind of like it gives her a homey sense in a way. I just found they made him too much into a cantankerous pain in the backside.
He was grumpy in season 2.
Yeah, and I just think it made the paramount decision in the game. Obviously, when you get to the end, Kenny's completely lost it, and he wants to just go away with AJ and Clementine. And then obviously you have Jane, who's this character that she doesn't cause trouble. She's a bit of a loner, but you can tell that since losing her sister, she needs that companionship. It just made that, it made that too easy of a decision. I literally killed Kenny because he was just being a nightmare. I thought, I'm never going to be happy if you're here.
No, and doesn't do that.
Didn't you?
No
No,
pots.
literally. I went away with Jane, which is obviously sad when you find out what happens in season 3, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But
Um,
obviously, yeah,
I can't remember why. So I didn't kill Kenny. I let Kenny kill Jane, and I can't remember why. I think that it might have been something to do with there was just this really strong bond I felt between Clementine and Kenny, and she'd already had to kill Lee in the previous season, and I was like, I know she's not real, but I don't think she can deal with that.
yeah,
So, but at the same time, I feel like it was the worst thing to do because then it just shows Clementine that, oh, if you're having conflict, it's fine to just kill someone. I think that it maybe was like a signal that Kenny had lost all of his humanity as well because obviously he lost his wife in this season, his new wife.
yeah,
He'd already lost his kid, he lost his old wife. So I feel like Kenny was at a point where he'd lost everything. He found out that Lee had died and not in a very nice way. So it's probably, it kind of made sense for his character because obviously him and Jane, almost the same as Carly and Lily in the first episode season, they cannot get on. Whatever
yeah,
you pick, you will anger one of them. So it's just tricky. And I didn't like how Jane was with the baby. It made me nervous because she's AJ obviously is born. He's Rebecca and Calvin's baby, and he causes a bit of a rift because Kenny wants to look after him, and Jane is a bit. She's unsure. She thinks that he's, gonna lead walkers to them, and he's gonna be a dead
yeah,
weight. So I was a bit more like, I think that Clementine needs to be with Kenny, and I think that Jane isn't the right choice for AJ. So I hated it. Get me wrong, don't get me wrong. I did not like sitting there watching him literally, stab someone. I didn't like that, but I just think Jane. I don't know if she. I know she's a survivor like Clementine, but I don't know if she was what Clementine needed. So
yeah,
I mean, I went back and I played again, and I did go with Jane. But for my main save file, I went with, and then we'll talk about what happened because I'm interested what happened because I've not even seen what happened with Jane in season 3.
oh no,
So yeah, I'm interested about that. But yeah, no, I thought season 2 was great. I loved it. It's the only one I've played multiple times. I've obviously played the first one to get the different endings, but I played season 2 just different episodes for fun because I want to reminisce on them. So
yeah,
yes, I agree. The choices are limited, and it doesn't let you sort of carve out your story like it promised. But
yeah,
I liked the characters. I liked the story. I thought every second was just really thrilling. So it's
yeah.
probably my favorite, which I don't attack me, internet, for that. I think season 2 is my second favorite, and then to be fair, even season 2 and season 3 might be joint, but I like them all equally. But season 2 definitely stands out for me.
Yeah, I think as well, like I was saying with the kind of limited choices, I think you have a bit more freedom. I know it's kind of weird saying that because in a game where you have to kind of make choices to progress, you don't necessarily have free will, but I felt like in season 1 you had your choices kind of very they had a more significant effect on the outcomes, whereas in season 2 I just felt like I was making a decision but the same outcome was going to happen regardless, especially obviously in Luke's death, which is one of the most
So
frustrating
sad.
parts of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's just so
annoying.
frustrating.
Oh my god, don't get
Yeah,
me started.
but it's just like I felt like no matter what I did, I'd be like, you either get everyone getting annoyed at Clementine because she goes to save him, but then you can't save him no matter what, and you're like, why is this happening? It's just,
Hmm.
it's very, very frustrating. I just think it's something that season 1 did a bit better, was um, rely a bit more on the decision making as opposed to just, I got really careless in season 2, I think, because I just thought it's not going to have much of an effect at the
Yeah.
end of the day, so why bother?
Hmm.
But yeah, obviously we'll press on to season 3, but oh wait, no, first let's talk about Michonne.
Oh yeah,
I'll
well
talk
you
about
can talk about
Michonne.
Michonne. I've not played Michonne. I want to play it. So Nicole's even though we're doing a spoiler special, Nicole is not going to spoil anything for me, but the spoiler special is still going. The rest of
Yeah,
everything's still spoilery.
yeah. I just wanted to cover Michonne in between because obviously it came out between 2 and 3, so I just kind of wanted to keep it in some kind of chronological order. But obviously Michonne was a spin-off that focuses on the character Michonne that's, in the comics and the series on TV, and she was brought to Telltale's Walking Dead game. Um, I, I really liked her involvement because I've always been intrigued by her character. She's one of those characters that really puts on a tough facade, but there's kind of emotions that run deep within her. that at times she finds hard to control. I found that Michonne was perhaps the most atmospheric and
Yeah.
spooky across the series. Just because it's so hard to explain this without spoiling it, because I really don't want to spoil it, because I want
Should
you
I
to
like
enjoy it
mute
to the
my
fullest.
microphone?
No, so, basically, she gets flashbacks, and they account for kind of jumpy moments in the game. So you'll be going about your business, or just exploring a house or something, and before you know it, like, something will just run across the screen, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And it's like, I just found it was one of the creepiest installments, but it was so good. I don't know how you haven't played it,
Yeah, it's
because
bad. It's really naughty, isn't it?
no, but I know how much you love, like, the series, and I definitely think you should play it, because it is absolutely fantastic. But I think it tackles the darker side to what could happen, like, to what happens to individuals during an apocalypse, and how decisions they've had to make can really, like, traumatize them and haunt them. And I like that. I thought it made for a really poignant story, definitely, for sure. But yeah, right. So season 3. Yeah, right. I'll let you go through your thoughts, and then I'll tell you what happens with Jane.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happens in mine. I'll go through with it. So I obviously left with Kenny at the end of season 2, and then at the very end of season 2, when you get to the gates, I can't remember the place. Did we figure out what it was called? Was it Wellington? Can't think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
That's confusing, because that's the same place as in We Happy Few, so that's very confusing.
But, yeah.
So you get to the gates of Wellington with the baby, and I was with Kenny, and at the end of the game they say they can take Clementine in, but they can't take Kenny in. So it kind of gave me a choice of, do I want to leave, just me and Kenny go out in the wild, or do I want to go in and leave Kenny on the outside? And I picked to leave Kenny on the outside and go in with me and AJ, because I thought Kenny was for a start, and we all know he was a bit loopy, so I thought, maybe it's best if me and the baby are here. It's safer if we're here. Kenny can look after himself. So I thought, I was still sad. I hated leaving him. But when I found out that if you leave with Kenny, he dies, I'm glad, because now my Kenny is in the wilderness somewhere. It doesn't mean he's dead. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, so you're happy. He's out enjoying himself.
He's fine. There's no, I never saw him die, so therefore he's not dead. So that's great.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed season 3. We were talking about this once again before we recorded. I don't remember much of season 3, which is weird to say that it happened like a year ago. I think I liked the dynamic. Obviously, once again, it's a family. They've been torn apart. There is Javi. There's his brother's wife, Kate, and then they've got Kate's 2 kids. One's called Gabe and one's called Mariana. It's a good dynamic. They all sort of get on quite well with each other. They've been on the road for a long time with each other. And I think the story was really good as well. Obviously, you end up going to a new faction where the leader is actually Javi's brother and Kate's wife. Kate's husband, and you've been kind of getting on with Kate very well, so it's a bit but yeah, I really can't remember too much of the story, so feel free to enlighten me. But I remember bits and bobs, and I thought that for what it was very good. I don't know if it stood out to me as much as the story in season 1 or 2. I thought it was really great playing as Javi, but it felt strange not playing as Clementine, or with Clementine always being a present character. She's quite often not there, or you play as her but you're not with anyone else, just on your own. So I'm not sure how I felt about that. I'd be interested to see what they're going to do with season 4, because it looks like it's going back to Clementine being the main character, which is something I'm happy about. But I liked Javi, I liked his family, I liked the story. I liked how much it shocked me. So one of the main seasons, episodes even, you're in a junkyard and you're just like scrounging for junk, and you find all these supplies and you think, that's great, that's amazing. And you find something for Mariana and you go to give it to her, and all of a sudden she gets shot in the head, and
oh my gosh,
I think I actually shouted because I didn't see that coming. It's such a sweet moment where Javi's bonding with his niece, and it's really sweet, and then all of a sudden, boom, and I was so shocked. And the 3rd season's very good at doing things like that, things that really make you, oh my gosh, what is happening? But aside from that, I really can't remember the plot very well, so feel free to fill in the gaps and tell me what happened with Jane as well, because I'm interested about that.
Yeah, I think that's the problem though. So obviously we were saying before, like we've decided to do this spoiler special, but it's really hard to recap the events. And I don't know whether that's because obviously the game you're focused more on the characters and the kind of story that's unfolding around them. That it's just hard to remember, aside from key moments. But it's been a nightmare. I've been trying to like read up to remember because it feels like so long since I've played them. But yeah, so obviously you started season 3 with Kenny, whereas I did with Jane. So basically, this I hope my memory served me correctly here, and I've not somehow intermingled this with a film I've watched or something. But I'm 90% sure that they go back to the place where was it Carver? Was that his name? The
His
evil
big
guy.
garden centre.
Yeah, you go
Oh
back
yeah,
there.
I think I've read this ending. I've not seen it. I think I've read it.
Yeah, so you go back there to kind of wait out the horde, and I'm pretty sure Jane finds out she's pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, as you know, she's a loner. She doubts her ability to take care of anyone, so she actually ends up killing herself.
See, I did hear about this one. I think that's so out of character. I think that what they've done is they thought, right, we know where season 3 wants to start. We need to start season 3 in, this city, and it needs Clementine and the baby. That's how we want it. So I think that what they've done is they've maybe gone too broad with the endings in season 2. And they thought, okay, what we do is we kill the secondary character off, or we let them, depart so they're on their own. So I just wouldn't see her doing that.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. I did think I was very shocked by it because I thought, she's kind of like a tough nut in respect to. I don't think that would be something that would phase her, but maybe it was just it brought back memories from like her sister and stuff. I'm really going into this.
No, go crazy.
But yeah, I think maybe that's how they've tried to justify it. But it is kind of annoying, as you say. Like, I think they know where they wanted season 3 to begin. So the like again with season 2, the choice you made at the end, it kind of felt redundant coming into season 3 because they wanted to carry over those decisions, but equally they didn't ultimately have an effect on how season 3 played out.
Yeah.
But I think what I enjoyed most about season 3 was just how you see kind of Clementine's character development in a very raw light. In season 2, she was kind of considerably mature and self-sufficient, but in season 3, she's just hell bent on surviving, and she has had to sacrifice a great kind of deal of humanity to do so. And obviously, you see after years of relying on and being let down by others that she's resorted to believing that she operates best by herself, as to like and abandons that kind of emotional attachment. I think that's why obviously when she meets up with Javi and Kate, that she's not necessarily very emotionally invested in them. But yeah, I think they introduced really good characters with Javi and Kate, and I love their blossoming relationship. And I love the fact that when she met up with her husband again, who she presumed was dead, and obviously he's Javi's brother, it makes the storyline suddenly very unpredictable. And you're just kind of waiting for David to blow. And knowing obviously he's one of the leaders of the New Frontier, he's got that kind of element of power. And it really tosses your moral choices into the air as well again, because you're thinking, do I, make these decisions in favour of Kate, who I've, spent the last couple of years with, I love, blah, 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 or do I, cater towards my brother, David? So, I really, really like that. But I thought season 3 was really good, and I thought the New Frontier thing was quite dark as well.
Yeah.
Very, very dark and corrupt, and I really like that. I thought it was really good.
I mean, it probably had one of my probably one of my favorite moments, and I think that I really did like that scene where Mariana got shot because, like I said, it was so unpredictable. I remember getting really annoyed at the promo team because one of the episodes, Kate gets stuck in a truck and it gets set on fire. So instantly you think, oh God, she's dead. Released a promo picture, and it had a picture of Kate looking very zombie-ish, and I was like, great, they just spoiled it, because now they're telling us that she's turned into a zombie, but it doesn't actually, for me anyway, it didn't end up that way. I'm interested though, what was your ending for the 3rd season, if you do remember? That's like a really long shot. I can't remember mine. I have a think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't even remember mine.
So Clementine left on her own in mine, I remember.
Yeah.
She didn't have AJ. And Javi, I think. Oh yeah, I remember now. So Javi couldn't find Kate. That's how mine ended. Mine basically, I don't think it was a very good ending. I don't know if there is a good ending, but mine,
Yeah.
yeah, mine didn't end in a very good way, I think. So Javi was on his own, and Clementine was like, basically, I'm leaving, so bye. But
I can't remember mine.
do you
Oh
see
my
what I
good
mean?
grief.
So I'm not saying it's a bad game, but every single game that I, played from this franchise, I remember a lot of it, and I don't really remember A New Frontier. It could be because it's the only one I've only played through once, and I've not done a second playthrough where I've, really got into it. And it might be because I played it for review, so I was very, focused on the review rather than what's going on. But
Yeah.
I can't remember a lot of key moments, whereas the other two I could pretty much tell you like everything that happens in every episode.
Yeah, it's a shame though, because when I think about it, I really enjoyed playing it, but it's just gutting that I can't remember like how I left it.
I might have to restart it after this. It might be on the
Yeah.
cards to restart.
I
But
swear I found what's her name at the end, Kate. I swear I
I
found her at
didn't
the
find
end.
her.
Oh, God knows.
Unless I
I
did and I've
think now.
forgotten.
Bloody hell. Well, hopefully the next season is a bit more memorable.
Yeah.
So what are your hopes for that season 4?
So I want season 4 to have a really concise, because obviously it's the finale. So I'd like I need to say Nicole's story. Yeah, you're in the game now, Nicole.
I'm in the game.
I'd like Clementine's story to come to a close. It doesn't really bother me if that story is, a sad one, a happy one. I just think that there needs to be a well-rounded finale that sort of answers all the unanswered questions and irons out everything that's been a bit, left undone. I'd like to see Javi again. I think it would be nice if he came back, but I do wonder if this season's going to be purely Clementine teaching AJ how to survive.
Yeah.
I don't want it to end with Clementine dying, but at the back of my mind, I'm sort of very worried that it's going to be a replica of the first season where obviously,
Yeah.
like Lee died and left Clementine. I'm worried that it might be a Clementine dies and leaves AJ to sort of survive in this world. I think whatever they do with it, I know I'm going to love it, because I think that Telltale have just done an amazing job with this franchise. They've really got everyone in hooks, and things where you feel like you're watching a TV show, but it's a TV show you're directing yourself. So there's something really
Yeah.
innovative about it. So as long as they don't do something completely out of character, because for me, I think that's been my main criticism of the franchise so far. Characters doing things that I would never picture them doing, where I've been like, why? What? Like you telling me that Jane killed herself because she was pregnant, it just does not fit in with how I thought about Jane. And Kenny's wife in the first season killing herself after Duck died. Yeah, obviously it's heartbreaking, but she was painted across as such a caring woman, and she obviously loved her husband. So for her to just kill herself, it just felt a bit like they wanted her out. So
Yeah. I
as long
agree
as
with
they
you.
don't do anything in like that where they completely flip Clementine's character on the head, I think that I'll be happy with it. I just hope that I think it needs to end. I think that all good things need to come to an end, and that it's been an amazing franchise, but if they carry it on, they're just going to drag it through the mud. So I would like a very clear, concise, that's the end. You know what I mean? Like, that's the
Yeah.
finale. Just, that's all I really want. I know I'm going to love the rest of it, so just bring it on. Bring on tomorrow. I'm excited. 14th of August. I can't wait.
Awesome.
What about you?
I'm sure. I don't know, to be honest. As much as I've loved seeing like Clementine grow, I think in this season I'd love to see some of her humanity restored. I'd like to see her show a little bit more remorse for her actions as she once did, because obviously she's got AJ to take care of, and it kind of, in a way, it would annoy me if she was passing over this very kind of emotionless facade to him, saying that he should adopt that and that's how he's going to get by. I hope, like, in the first season, with the incorporation of AJ, that choices are still very heavy on, like, your morals. Yeah, and that they've just got the ability to steer the story a little bit more freely, as opposed to season 2, like I said, where they felt they had very little effect on the outcomes. But as you said quite rightly, I think mostly I hope that it's true to the end. I don't want to see it dragged through the mud, and I think the game's in a nice place now where it's come full circle. Clem, having taken on Lee's advice, is in a position where she can pass on that knowledge to AJ and allow him to live out his days safely. But like you say, I hope it doesn't come like so full circle that she dies as well, and AJ has to kind of do that, because I'd hate to think that they're so keen to keep it full circle that they actually do that. That would annoy me. But I think it would just resonate best if Telltale remain true to their word, where they've said that it's the end, and make it the end. I think that's my my main want for it, to be fair.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, like we were saying, it's horrible when you see a franchise that you really love. Sounds weird, just continue. There's got to be some point where you think it feels like now's a really good time to just put it to an end now. You don't want to taint this fantastic franchise, something that's got loads of awards and it's done really well. Obviously there's a family within the recording studio of the artists, and I think Telltale have done a great job. I think it'd be nice to see Telltale move on to another project they can dedicate as much time to as well now. Walking Dead, it's had its success. I think it's time that it ends. Not in a bad way. I'd love for it to continue forever. If it was guaranteed that every season was going to be flawless, then continue forever. But you can't do that. It's impossible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. They should stop it there and move on to the next Tales from the Borderlands. That would be good. Yes. Telltale, if you're listening.
Well, it's perfect excuse, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. Right, anyway, we had, I don't want to say questions. I'll say we have Uno question.
Uno question.
So I'll hand over to you for that.
So we do actually have two, because I want to ask Nicole a question. That's a plea. If anybody out there's listening and feels bad for us, please send us questions in. Thanks, guys. So, our singular question from an actual listener is from Jack Croxall, and he asks, which character deaths across all 3 games have the most emotional impact for you personally? Nicole, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, well, I think to say the kind of cliche answer here, it would have to be Lee's. I have a couple of close seconds, which I'll cover in a second, but it was definitely, for me, Lee. Like I said afterwards, I was inconsolable. I was absolutely miserable. And it was all because he died. Like, he didn't have to die, but he died. For me, it was like the build-up beforehand. And obviously Clementine crying as he was like talking her through it, and that. It absolutely destroyed me.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, obviously I decided to have Clem kill Lee as to prevent her to being bit by him, because I didn't know whether she'd go back at some point to see if he was still there. So I just thought, if that's just a clean slate. That's not something I have to worry about. But it was just so morbid in the sense that no child should have to do that, and I just think it made his death have all the more emotional impact. I think I was a bit moved by this. This will probably strike up some controversy, because he was a very pain in the butt character, but I was actually quite moved by Ben's death in season 1. So obviously I kept him alive despite him being a right royal pain until the end of the game, virtually, where he fell from a balcony and got impaled on a rail or a bit of metal, and Kenny had to go down to save him. And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, that's when we thought Kenny was presumed dead. And it was so annoying for me that he was finally pulling himself together, and I was like, do you know what, Ben? You're an all right lad. You know what? You're all right. I can deal with you. And then he goes and does something stupid like Fools. And it really, really bugged me. I don't know why. I kind of warmed to him towards the end, and it wound me up. But Luke's death in season 2 really, really annoyed me. Yeah. And it was just the fact that, Clem kind of learned to trust him and stuff, and they were getting on really, really well. And she looked up to him, and it broke my heart when you had to decide whether to save him or kind of like walk away. And he only died either way. I was like, great. I couldn't even do anything about it. So I'd have to say those kind of, because I think they put so many. It's one of those games where you can never predict who's going to die, because any character could just be ruled off in a heartbeat. So it's got quite a few emotional deaths in it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to have to agree and say that Lee's is the one that definitely impacted me the most. And Jack himself will know this, because we played the game in the same room. So he will know that I was bawling tears at the time. But I think there's quite a few that stand out to me in terms of really hitting you in the feels. It really, really getting you upset. So earlier, Ducks, I found really horrible. And even though, like I said, he's a kid and everybody thought he was annoying. I just couldn't get over the fact that he was a child. And those last few moments, he goes from being, you know, annoying little kid. And I have 2 younger brothers who at times can be annoying. But those last few moments, he goes from being really, you can see him, I think, shrivel up, and he seems really scared. And I could not physically myself kill him. I had to give the PlayStation controller to Jack, and I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I can't kill him. I cannot.
Oh.
Yeah, and I just cried. I found that was horrible. And
Oh,
then,
bless.
do you know what? Even though the dog attacked me, I feel bad for the dog as well. Didn't like the way the
That
dog
so
died.
did I.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, when it came to that point, and when he bit me, I was like, why'd you go and do that? Because you know I'm gonna have to kill you now.
I mean, I would have left him alive if it was my choice. I would have been like, oh, bad dog. I'm just gonna run away. Please leave me alone.
Yeah, I'll leave you
But
alone.
he obviously dies because he bites Clementine because she doesn't give him enough of the food. Clementine has to kick him off her, and she kicks him onto some spikes, and he dies. And then you have to choose: do you kill him? Which I did. I'm not leaving him, you know, to
No,
die.
I couldn't.
And that, I just like dogs, so I didn't like that either. And then Luke's death as well, because I really liked Luke as a character. I thought that he was really well rounded, and he sort of felt the most human out of a lot of them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
was angry, and then he was happy, and then he'd get on with certain characters and not like others. And I thought he was really well rounded, and like you said, his death was annoying because it felt like it was, you couldn't stop it. It just
Yeah.
frustrated me. But it has to be Lee. I know it's a very cliche answer, like you're saying, and it's just something that everybody says, but I don't know. And no, had to be Lee. I'm just trying to think
Indicates they did it well, though, doesn't it? If it's
Yeah.
kind of a generic answer that everyone
yeah.
would give, it would say that it's kind of, you know, they did their job good. If they wanted to make that have such an impact, it has had that impact.
Exactly. I mean, I'm just trying to think if anybody really upset me. I guess if you get the ending where Kate has to where Kate turns into a zombie and Harvey shoots her, that's quite sad. But I didn't get
Yep.
that ending, so I can't say that I felt that way necessarily.
Yeah, same here.
And then the other question is from Rebecca Stowe. She sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, I just wanted to ask Nicole, because I do have thoughts too. But yeah, Nicole, how do you feel about the way that Telltale publish their episodes? Obviously, they do them where they'll publish one episode, you'll wait 2 months, you get the next episode, you wait 2 months, you get the next episode. For me, I think I found it a mix between annoying and exciting, because it's annoying if you end on a cliffhanger and you want to know what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's exciting because it builds up the excitement for the game. You sort of know it's coming, the apprehension's there. You play through the first episode again because you want to remind yourself. So I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm interested to know what you think of it.
I don't know. I think it's something they do just on the premise that they can drag out the game, if you know what I mean. That it gives someone to look forward to, and I suppose it makes all the events that happen within them have that much more impact because you've got to wait to kind of see them out, kind of thing. Personally, I won't be buying it straight away.
No?
I think I'm gonna have to wait until the physical release, not only to kind of satisfy my materialistic needs where I need to see it on my shelf.
I might have to buy season 3 for that, you know. I've got season 3 digital, and I'm looking at them right now. Season 1 and season 2 are next to each other, and no season 3.
Yeah, I'd definitely buy it, but I don't know. I don't think I can wait for the cliffhangers as well. I think about when I've played all the prior seasons, and I couldn't imagine some of the cliffhangers they leave on and having to wait for it. I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's clever because it sort of keeps their game in the spotlight for 5 or 6 months, because obviously you'll be anticipating the next episode coming out. There'll be a dip where people it and they're not too fussed about the wait, and then maybe the week before there'll be a massive hype. As someone who does like to collect physical copies, I find it very tricky. They normally release a physical copy about 3 episodes in, and then from then on you can download the remaining 2 episodes, or 3 episodes, which is a good thing to do because it saves you from having to, download new episodes every week. It probably spreads the cost out a little bit more as well. But I don't know. It depends on if I review it or not, because obviously if I review it, I'm either going to review episodes individually and therefore I'll get them digitally, or I'm going to review the whole thing, in which case I'll get a disc and then I don't have to wait. So
yeah,
because I think if you get them all in one go, you play them all in one go.
That's the thing, because they are quite short, and sometimes they're so when you get lost in a good film and you're like, oh my god, that was 2 hours. It's kind of got that feeling where you play it and you're like, did I actually just finish that episode? Like, well, I need to play the next one.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, it's like 10 hours has gone by and you're like, oh, the game's finished.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it for questions. Thanks to Jack for asking our single user question. Jack's actually asked a question for every single one of these spoiler casts, so it's nice to have him as a backup, because sometimes I feel like there's just not questions. I mean, we've done it so, when we do future ones, we're going to do one for Edith Finch next, which I'm so excited about. But we've done it so that, it's thoughts or questions. So if you ever have any thoughts and you think, what, I'd like to know what you guys think of this, then just feel free to pop them in as well. But for this week, thank you for Jack for asking that question, and I will move on to Nicole to let her wrap us up.
Yeah, well, thank you for your question as well, Rebecca. I appreciate you backing us here. But yeah, I think it's time to wrap things up. We hope you enjoyed listening. If you have any thoughts or thoughts you'd like to share on this series in particular, or future games you'd like us to cover, then please get in touch with Rebecca and I. You can do so via the Square Exo Twitter account, as I've mentioned earlier, or equally you can contact us via our own personal Twitter accounts. You can contact me at Gamers Delight, which is 2 S's and it's all one word. And yourself, Rebecca?
My Twitter is RebeccaStone97 with the capital R and everything else little letters.
There we are then. Well, yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback and thoughts, so don't hesitate to drop us a line, because we're always about. But yeah, thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time with a bit of What Remains of Edith Finch.
Can't wait for that. I'm so excited.
Gonna be so good. But yeah, catch you guys then. Bye.
Bye.